أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. استغفر الله استغفر الله استغفر الله استغفر الله استغفر الله. بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين. وبعد. From the different qualities that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves to see in an individual, there's perhaps no quality more rewarding than istiqamah, consistency. In fact, when Allah talks about admission into Jannah and what will be the characteristic of someone who's deserving of Jannah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ قَالُوا رَبُّنَا اللَّهُ ثُمَّ اسْتَقَامُوا. Istiqamah is something that we often overlook because as human beings, we're drawn to big occasions. We're drawn to big things. So when I think about a donation, it has to be in the thousands. When I think about an ibadah, it has to be Eid. When I think about doing something, it has to be my full capacity, putting it all and channeling it all into a particular work. But from the side of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's not about the size, it's not about how great it is, it's about how consistent you are with that action. In fact, one of the most famous statements Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had said was, أَحَبُّ الْأَعْمَالِ إِلَى اللَّهِ أَدْوَمُهَا وَإِنْ قَلَّ. The most beloved action to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are those actions that are consistent. Why do I mention this? In the month of Ramadan, if we ever were to take a graph and we plot our a'mal throughout the entire year, 12 months in the year, the graph will be low, it'll be low, then all of a sudden there's this spike that goes up for a month, and then right after that it goes right back down, and it continues on. And if we look at the graph of our lives, it's an unfortunate reality that every year is the same, where it's like at a completely low, very unfortunate circumstance, and then there's a spike. That is not istiqamah. Yes, on the Day of Judgment, we will be rewarded for that, absolutely. But what type of a graph do we want in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Something that shows consistency. It can be low, but it's consistent. Not that what I am in Ramadan is completely different than who I am outside of Ramadan. There's going to be increases and decreases. In fact, Hanzala radiallahu anhu's famous statement was, I'm a munafiq. Why? Because sometimes I have high and sometimes I have low. That's fine. But if I'm not praying salah in the masjid, I'm not praying my sunnah, I'm not reading Quran, and all of a sudden I do it, it's very similar to, they give the example, one of the ulama, he gave a very famous example. He said that if you're making roti and the tawa, the pot, the pan is not ready, and you just throw it onto it, and then you turn it on, it's going to stick onto it. If you have a roti and you just throw it on, and you have a pan that's not ready, I have experience. The only thing I know how to make is roti, unfortunately. But whenever I make it, even that, I do a bad job with it as well. So I put it on. The first time I did it, I didn't let it heat up properly, and it stuck to the pan, and I'm trying to pull it out, and then you can smell the burning smells everywhere. It's a disaster. So one alim used to say, the tawwa has to be ready for Ramadan. When Ramadan comes, if it's cold, it's going to stick on and you're going to have a bigger disaster. But before Ramadan, I'm fasting on Mondays and Thursdays. I'm actually doing some ibadah. I'm doing my adhkar. I'm reading Quran. I'm making dua. I'm staying in touch with my family. Then when the tawwa is ready, when the pan is ready, and then Ramadan comes, right from the start, wheels off, I'm already doing my ibadah. So istiqamah is important. We still have 3 weeks before Ramadan, even if it's something small. I'm giving a little bit of charity. I'm praying my 2 rak'at of sunnah after salah. I'm giving salam. I'm fasting once. This goes a long way to make Ramadan much more productive. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us istiqamah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us among those whose graph of a'mal is much more consistent and does not comprise of just